Hey guys, Dan here. I want to talk about an interesting topic in the bodybuilding and general health community of the negative light and the huge shunning cortisol gets having a normal having just cortisol period. Basically, cortisol is the devil in the health and the fitness community today. So I wanted to bring some light on the truth on that and what's wrong about it, and the importance and all the benefits, and why having low cortisol is way worse for health and fitness than having what do you say than having high cortisol. So I didn't make any notes or stuff like this for this video. I should have, so I'm kind of just going to be all over the place. Hopefully it's easy to follow. I'm going to start doing my videos again, but I want to bring up my whiteboard again like I had, so I can write it all down for everybody to see and kind of go over better. So yeah, guys, cortisol. Where do I want to start? The benefits versus the negatives. Okay, so let me explain cortisol a little bit first. So the best way to put cortisol is I call it the energy giving. It's your life and energy giving hormone, essentially. So as most know, cortisol is it's highest in the morning, lower at nighttime. Cortisol is literally there to get you out of bed, to wake you up, to give you energy, and it's literally there lowering and lowering and lowering. Come near bedtime to what? To unwind you, to so you can fall asleep. Your usable energy is decreasing. The importance for cortisol for especially bodybuilders, cortisol is needed for the utilization of protein, carbs, and fats. It's literally needed for the calories, the macronutrients we're eating, to utilize them to build muscle. We need cortisol to do that. Besides that, cortisol is needed for a healthy appetite. Cortisol is needed for proper gastric acid production. Cortisol is there to quell inflammation. Cortisol is. Here's another really funny thing. I think I'll post these studies up, or maybe I'll wait to my big video. But everybody's all about inhibiting cortisol, right? And it was funny. The studies, patients with low cortisol had decreased muscle mass and decreased strength. Everybody talks about, oh my God, you got to keep that cortisol low. Their exact words, you got to keep it low, not realizing it is needed to literally utilize all the food that you're eating and to have normal, proper bodily processes to build muscle. And that is why people who had low cortisol had decreased muscle mass. So it's like anything in life. With any of our hormones or anything we do, there is a fine line of balance. Like, you don't want your pH too high, you don't want your pH too low. Everything there is a fine balance. Cortisol, yes, you don't want it high, but at all costs, you do not want it low. You do not want to be lowering it. A lot of people get actually an adrenal insufficiency on long-term steroid use. I did a big article about this. This is well documented in animals, and there's some studies in humans. So when you take steroids, you're shutting down not fully all of them, but you're shutting more down than just your sex hormones. Your gonadal, whatever, sex hormones, your testosterone, estrogen, and so on. It's actually partially in the initial phases, shutting down your adrenal hormones as well. But yeah, long-term steroid use is shown to cause adrenal insufficiency or insufficiently-like effects, and this is the blunting of cortisol. So this is why it's funny. I always point this out to people on the TRT forums and stuff like that. You'll notice after time, a lot of those guys are on a cocktail of drugs, a cocktail of adrenal hormones, too, aldosterone, cortisol, and they feel like death. They have no energy. They feel like complete shit. Their digestion is super slow, and they're looking for this fix of to feel better, essentially, after the honeymoon period wore off and adrenal insufficiency is setting in. So that's another thing that I just mentioned there. With low cortisol, you will feel like complete shit. You will have no energy. You will have extreme fatigue. One of the best sides I tell people to look out to think if you might have low cortisol, whether it's due to prolonged steroid use or just who knows what reason, dietary wise, because you need specific nutrients to produce cortisol. So yeah, one of the main things that I like to a few of the main things I like to go over with people is I feel are the best indicators is one, fatigue, which is so general, fatigue, low energy. But these ones coupled with it is dry skin and dry hair, which can be thyroid, which can be low fats, which can be so many things. But we're putting a mixture of things together here to kind of help pinpoint if it might be that. Fatigue, low energy, dry skin, dry hair. This is a big one of it. Low morning appetite. This is a big one I look for, coupled with all those other things. As I explained, cortisol is needed to increase gastric acid production. And here's the other thing with cortisol and why it's the benefits, which is tons of studies on this, on eating majority of your calories earlier in the day, was that. So they showed a lot of negative health effects eating higher calories later in the day, and you could reverse multiple different diseases like insulin resistance and so on with eating majority of your calories early in the day. Why is that? Because your cortisol is highest in the morning. Why does having high cortisol matter early in the morning? Because cortisol there is to break down and utilize your protein, carbs, and your fats, as I said. So with you having a low morning appetite, your cortisol is low, you don't have adequate gastric acid production, your body is not saying, hey, I need food, give me energy. So the low cortisol is causing a low morning appetite, and you are not going to have a high appetite at all generally, and you're going to have very slow digestion, as cortisol is needed for everything to kick up and start going, including your whole digestive tract. So yeah, where was I going? Low energy, dry skin, dry hair, low morning appetite. And here's another funny thing: you'll have poor sleep with it as well, generally. So those are the. I think I'm got them. There might be one or two I'm missing. I should have did notes for this. Again, I'm going to do a better video with my whiteboard and write all this down so you can see it clear out. I'm just doing a shorter one now. So yeah, those are the main things that I look for low cortisol, to be like, hey, maybe you should go get this further tested, or you can try and improve some nutrients that might be missing for adequate cortisol production. Calcium is needed for the production of cortisol. Potassium, as I mentioned, is needed for the production of cortisol. Here's another thing to be very careful of. So I suggest magnesium sometimes under certain circumstances, and adequate magnesium in the diet. There is, especially in the fitness and health community, they have this weird overabundance attitude where it's like, no, take a ton every day. If you're repleting a level, sure, take take a lot for a short period of time. Magnesium is one of those things where people are taking way jacked up amounts of it, 1-2 grams and more for long term. And the dangers of this, even if you Google people's results on it, Google magnesium dry hair, magnesium dry skin, and it can actually lead to constipation when people are using it for to help them go over time. It can lead to constipation as it's lowering your cortisol. So that's where I'm going with this. Magnesium directly inhibits cortisol production. So people who are megadosing magnesium, they may start to notice they're urinating more, the dry skin, the dry hair, the appetite has gone to crap because you're inhibiting your cortisol. And the reason it's doing this, besides inhibiting directly, multiple factors. Magnesium, when it's too high, can throw off deplete calcium, sodium, potassium, all the four main electrolytes. When they're kind of too high, they can kind of deplete all the other ones. Again, I should have did notes with all the things that can affect cortisol, lower or higher it. But this is just on a whim, kind of get you guys going with one of the things I deal with all the time. Did I cover the basics? Yeah, I'll end this one here, and I'm going to do in the next few days a better video on this. Again, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully I feel like I'm really forgetting something. I'll go over it after, and I'll do another one later. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing to my channels, my forum, sharing my content. Greatly appreciated always. Yeah, that's it. Take care, guys.